The clear emphasis on the tight end position was so exciting coming into the season, with 7 to 8 tight ends now being down to 1 or 2 tight ends, and not all of them being out because of injury, is equal parts frustrating, concerning, and perplexing.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at All-Day State. Today, we're partially brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment matter more, especially right now when new customers can bet $5. And if your bet's a winner, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets that you can use all across the app. Make sure that you download the FanDuel app today. Meanwhile, we could slide into this conversation of the tight end position. Coming into the year, or even post-spring, we had some tight ends like Tabor Shetron decide to enter the transfer portal. And then we bring in a ton of tight ends. We bring in Carson Suesu from BYU. Then you bring in somebody like a Will Money from Utah State. And then you have Oscar Hammond coming over from North Texas, formerly a Tulsa area individual. We had Quentin Stewart, the tried and true old school Cowboy dude, coming back. And then, of course, the cream of the crop, the freshman last year that started at tight end for Oklahoma State, Josh Ford from right down the road in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And we did get to see Josh Ford do a couple things this season, score a couple touchdowns, have a couple big-time receptions. Clearly, there was not an emphasis on the tight end position at being an integral part of the reads for the quarterback, which was obviously a little bit disappointing. And I think you can view some of the stagnation from the quarterback position because we haven't been able to utilize the tight end position like it appeared as though we were going to try to do entering the season. And now that we need more help offensively, Josh Ford does not play against Arizona, neither does Will Money. Evidently, they're entering not the portal, but they're redshirting to stay at Oklahoma State for the next staff. All in all, I don't think that is a bad idea. I think that could be applicable for a ton of players. And I did, I was hoping that I'd hear from Kenyatta about some things around this time. But here we are now. Josh Ford not playing in this previous game. Neither was Will Money. Oscar Hammond's been hurt a large portion of the season. So we've been pretty reliant upon Quentin Stewart. And Quentin Stewart, unfortunately, for as good as he may be, he's not going to be able to accomplish what we need to in the passing game and the running game adequately. Quentin Stewart is more of a blocking tight end, but he can't do it all by himself. So now that we know that we haven't seen Carson Suesu this season, Jordan Viborny came into the season with a knee injury, so we knew he wasn't necessarily going to be available for most of the season. Then you have the injury to Hammond. Now you have a minor injury to Will Money recently, with the news that he's potentially going to redshirt alongside Josh Ford so they can return next season. Again, I don't necessarily have a massive issue with it per se. I just would like to know the rhyme or reason. Like, why is it okay for a Will Money and a Josh Ford to redshirt to stay at Oklahoma State, but maybe there's a guy like Brian McCloy that would like to do the same exact thing, yet he's not allowed to? So I would just like a little bit of nuance to what is the determining factor, right? So if some dudes would like to redshirt to be part of the new staff and they're being told no, and then some dudes are saying, I want a red shirt to stay and be part of the new staff, why are they being told yes? See, it's just confusing whenever there's likely got to be a barometer for the, recommendations of this happening. And perhaps it is NIL, but I would assume most of us would that Josh Ford was probably in the upper tier of NIL money at Oklahoma State. Maybe Will Money was or wasn't. I have no clue. But I do know that it is kind of weird that it's like rules for thee, but not for me on certain positions. So I don't understand what the criteria would be, because if this is going to be a thing, then there's tons of players that this mold fits. I think Noah McKinney might even be another individual that, if it was applicable to have that redshirt window and be available for the next coaching staff, I am kind of confused why we gave it to some, but we told some others, no, you cannot do that. If you don't play the rest of the season, you're going to have some NIL issues, right? You're basically potentially up for losing some things that you've already negotiated. So, yeah, I mean, I do find it kind of perplexing. We don't have the ability to establish much of a running game. Trent Allen has showed multiple glimpses, well, 2 glimpses this season, both against Oregon and against Baylor, of clearly being the lead back in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Rodney Fields, right? He's been able to show some things. Arizona had a good game plan, so you got to tip your cap to them. But we were unable to establish the run game. We are still struggling to find an identity for this football team. After Baylor and some pieces of Oregon, it kind of felt like the run game with Rodney Fields and Trent Allen could be the calling card, could be the identity. But, Trent didn't get a ton of carries this previous game. Rodney got a decent amount, but he wasn't able to pop off and do a whole lot. We did put Caleb Hicks there in the game there towards the latter half. We got to see a little bit of Sam Jackson, but it was primarily him taking the quarterback role into the fourth quarter as opposed to having it mixed in throughout the course of the game, much like we did against Baylor. So there was a lot of things offensively that were very confusing in this ball game. But at the end of the day, if we're going to view Rodney Fields, Trent Allen, Caleb Hicks, Essie Vlahi, whomever, as the main running back crew, I find it difficult how we make this decision to allow the rest of the season to carry forth with just one tight end. Right? Because again, it might be 2. Maybe Carson Suesu does factor into this, but I haven't seen him much on the sidelines this season. We obviously haven't seen him play this season, and we've been depleted at tight end for a couple different weeks now. So if Carson Suesu, the BYU transfer, who I think is going to have a phenomenal future, if he was available to be playing, I would assume he would be, because right now it's the Quentin Stewart show, and we don't have a lot of versatility. We don't have any versatility anymore at the tight end position. And that also limits us on the short yardage situations, because if you were able to go to 12 personnel, or we obviously cannot now with 13 personnel, but if you were able to do that in a short yardage situation, that was one of the recipes for success against Baylor, was having a little bit of a condensed ace style of formation with the tight ends as the bookends outside the tackles. Having that extra beef was likely how we were going to be able to get the running game to be the focal point of the season. But without any tight ends, now we're just depending on the offensive linemen to not only make their assignment successful, but now also get to the second level and cover up some of the deficiencies that we now have with missing the tight end position. But I do want to accentuate the fact that I think that this is not a bad move per se. If there's some dudes that want to return and they want to be Cowboys and they love the Cowboy culture, they love Stillwater, Oklahoma, maybe they want to be involved with cattle farming or something to that effect, and they've already identified that they want to be a part of this, just maybe not this season because of the turmoil, because of the fact that whether they came here for Todd Grantham or they didn't like him, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that Todd Grantham's gone. So if you're a defensive dude and you've got the talent and you're clearly, visibly one of the best players on the football field, and you want to redshirt to stay for the next season, just like a Josh Ford, I don't understand what the determining factor for that is to be, because we don't have very many tight ends. So for us to tell some of the tight ends, yes, you can redshirt, we appreciate you, we love you, we're going to keep you around for next season, but then to look at some of the defensive guys and say, sorry, no, you can't do that. You have to play the rest of the season no matter what happens. Sorry about you. I have a hard time with just understanding what is the difference, because some of the defensive players that would likely want to redshirt, that have already talked to some of the coaches or even a Kenyatta level individual about this exact thing, are potentially getting different results. That's the confusing part to me. Like, we have tons of linebackers. We have tons of defensive ends, but we don't have tons of tight ends. So again, I don't mind the idea of some dudes saying, hey, I really want to be here. I bleed orange. This is the place for me. But, to get the most out of it, let's kind of push this thing on to next season. I promise I'm not going to go anywhere. I want to be a part of the new staff, whatever that kind of looks like, because I care more about Oklahoma State. If you have a bunch of players saying that, or maybe it's not even a bunch, right? Maybe you just have a few handful of dudes saying that. I am confused on what the determining factor is for making that practical application out on the football field. Because again, if there was like a couple positions where you could not afford to allow guys to redshirt just to come back, tight end is definitely one of them. So, I mean, it almost feels like we're doing Doug Meacham a little bit of a disservice here. So, I don't know. Maybe somebody can make sense of it, because it's confusing. What is not confusing is you getting rocking and rolling today with a Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. You're going to love the Peloton IQ system because it offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests your right weights, and corrects your form, making sure that every rep is safer, better, and smarter. The swivel screen is an absolute game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations will help you stay engaged. You get the workouts tailored to your vibe and your energy level each and every week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward by exploring the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. That is onepeloton.com. Go there today to get your Peloton on. And we're going to keep sliding. If we're going to look at some of the bright sides defensively, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't good. Don't get it twisted. I would say probably more so the front seven. Right, the front seven did a pretty adequate job. Noah Fafita didn't get to run around and do crazy stuff. Madi didn't exactly get out there and tear us apart. The wide receivers, on the other hand, obviously made life extremely difficult on us. And when you lose multiple safeties and you lose your safety coach midseason, it is probably going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of patchwork here and there to get the defensive backfield more squared away. But we have to look at the bright sides, and we have to look at the differentiations, just like we were excited coming out of the Baylor game, because offensively, Doug Meacham, Sam Jackson, Shamar Rigby, Trent Howland, they looked significantly different than the first few games of the season. And we put up 27 points. We had the opportunity to put up a little bit more. So it's the first time we've shown signs of life offensively all season was against Baylor. Unfortunately, on the other side of the ball against Baylor, our defense was absolutely horrendous, putrid, inexcusable. So much so that Todd Grantham got fired almost immediately after the ball game. It wasn't even 20 hours of the paint drying before Todd Grantham was let go. And I think that does, once again, send the right message that if we're willing to get rid of Mike Gundy, if you're a position coach and you're out here doing a bunch of Tom ridiculousness, foolery, we're going to exercise that demon as well by removing you and putting somebody in that does care a little bit more. If we're staying in the vein of the bright side stuff, though, this was a better ball game. And there was some things to be excited about. The front seven did not look completely out of place like they did against Baylor. The defensive line did not get absolutely manhandled by Arizona. We were able to at least create a little bit of havoc, and we were able to help make Noah Fafita a little less comfortable than he would have been. So you got to give a little bit of an uptick to Clint Bowen and the defensive staff and the front seven for putting together a decent performance. Not good, not great, but decent. The front seven was not the obstacle in this game. It was the back seven that got cooked a little bit. But, I think that if you can merge these two together, so if you take a legit offensive performance against Baylor and an okay, decent defensive performance, especially by the front seven, against Arizona, then you have some semblance of a complete ball game, which gives you at least some prospect of potentially getting a W. Let's face it, there's not a lot of those left on the schedule. Coming into it, after what we did against Baylor offensively, we felt like if you put together that level of performance offensively against Arizona and you get just a little bit better defensively, we could win this ball game. And beating Arizona, beating Kansas State might be the only games on the schedule coming into it that look like we still could possibly get some W's. Arizona said, "Hold my beer. Not so fast, my friends." And don't get it confused. Clint Bowen mentioned it. Doug Meacham mentioned it. Arizona does have a good defense. And if Noah Fafita gets hot, and now knowing that they've got Watley back there, I mean, we knew that guy was going to be a problem. But without the front seven, at least showing some signs of life, some signs of ability to get in the backfield, to have some contain and get enough pressure to make him at least a little bit uncomfortable. That's the only thing that probably prevented Arizona from putting up 50 plus, or let's call a spade a spade. It was because of the difference in the front seven from the Baylor game to this game. Now, the defensive line, I'd say, did pretty good. The linebackers, more often than not, were in some decent spots. And offensively, though, they just, pooped the bed. And now you have the Zane thing. Hopefully it doesn't linger too long. But regardless, Zane's struggling. Like Sam Jackson should probably be our quarterback right now, like starting QB1 quarterback. It should be Sam Jackson. Clint Bowen, he's not a threat vertically with the pass, and the defenders are going to know that, right? So they're going to put a considerable amount of pressure on somebody like a Banks Bowen, and that would be the same if Noah Walters came to the ball game. There is going to be a scouting report on Noah Walters. Matter of fact, there would be more of a scouting report on Noah Walters than there would be on Banks Bowen, as we witnessed as Banks Bowen coming into this previous Arizona game. Like, he's got some wheels, he's got some ability to take off, but his awareness is still a little bit lacking. And that's just because he's young. That's not a knock on Clint Bowen. That was his first Power 4 football snaps of his lifetime. But Sam Jackson, his ability to layer passes seems to be a little bit better than Zane's. His ability to escape trouble is better than Zane's. He keeps his eyes downfield, at least the same as, if not better than, Zane. And Zane's just not playing with much confidence. So I think moving forward, if we can see a better offensive game plan, if we can see this front seven performance morph into an entire defensive performance, like, we're going to have the opportunity to keep a couple games close, maybe steal a W. On the negative side, though, if Doug Meacham put together the beginnings of an audition for him being the head man against Baylor, it kind of pooped the bed in this ball game against Arizona. So it'll be interesting to see what even he's able to do, because if Doug Meacham can find a way to make the offense hum, knowing that we're down to like one, maybe 1.5 tight ends, it'll be impressive. I do think that you're almost at a point, though, that you're going to have to go grab somebody from the defensive side of the ball that did play a considerable amount of tight end growing up to make this change. I mean, heck, I know Chindavian Bradley left Tennessee because they wanted him to convert to tight end. Maybe he's willing to do it for a few games, right? Gunnar Wilson played a ton of tight end in high school before he made the conversion over to the linebacker spot. And he's, 6'3", 230, runs a high 4.5 40. Perhaps that could be somebody, because, again, it's not like we're going to be putting a tight end in the game to vertically stretch the defense. At this point in time, we need tight ends to just block enough to help the running backs get a little bit of steam to move. Maybe it's a Malik Charles that scoots over. I mean, heck, Grant Sigrid, right? He went from a defensive end to a tight end to an offensive tackle. Too bad we need him. Too bad he's starting. Too bad he's doing decent, because we need some tight end help. And I don't know how Meacham's going to do it. I don't know if we've got enough duct tape to hold the rest of the season when you factor in transfer portal dudes, and then you factor in guys that are being allowed to redshirt for the next staff. And then you have a few injuries. Like, it's a depleted team. So it's not going to be an easy task for Doug Meacham. But again, somebody is okaying some of these decisions. So some of this roster limitation is on some of these individuals that are making some of these decisions that are limiting the Cowboys' capabilities from a roster standpoint. Make sure that you go support your local businesses with Square today. Your favorite neighborhood spots, they probably run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood, and the neighborhood makes these big businesses feel more like home. Every time you go in them, it's like an extension. Whether it's your sports bar dedicated to your favorite fan base, or the spot with the best wings in town to go for a game day, or the beloved food chain, or the grocery store that you know you cannot live without. that have been in the community for a long time. These are the businesses that bring people together. So when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood can thrive together. Sports are, something that brings neighborhoods together. When it's time for catering or game day rituals, celebrating the best food in the town, make sure that you go rock with your local businesses that have Square today. When you show up as a community, it means big business for local business owners. Money spent in the neighborhood stays in the neighborhood. This takes this ad to an excessive amount of support for your local spots with Square. Square is proud to partner with more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. So you can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege, all one word, to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite local spot. Mine is the Safeway right up the road. They treat me well. They know what I'm there for. And they always have a smile waiting on me. You'll be happy that you did as well by supporting your local business that is supported by Square. Go be with Square because Square is in your neighborhood. FanDuel is the bee's knees for all of your betting needs, and college football and Cowboy country is hurting our heart, but NFL season is here to give you an offer that you cannot miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if it's a winner. That's right. You pick a bet. You put those $5 down. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. What you're going to love about FanDuel is there's so many interesting stories that you can talk about that are very pertinent to your betting and your investment level. It makes watching every game more exciting because you have something riding on the action. You now have something on the line because your investment level is considerably higher. Whether you're the casual fan or you love diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better for you. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Make sure you visit FanDuel.com, download that app so you can capitalize with the NFL football season today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we do get on out of here, again, it wasn't all bad. Seeing some of the Cowboy culture dudes who probably bleed orange more than some of the guys who have already entered the transfer portal, like a LaDainian Fields getting a pick six. That was almost so fun and exciting that the score was somewhat insignificant because what have we been doing on the show? We've been preaching, hooting, hollering, yelling into the void. Play the dudes that give a crap, right? Play the guys that you know are super invested, that you know that the name on the front does mean more than the name on the back. And we finally got to see a little bit of that against Baylor, but now we got to see a considerable amount of it against Arizona. Once again, there's no disillusionment here. The likelihood of us winning a couple games throughout the course of this season is very slim. So if we're already staring down the barrel of a 1 or 2 win season, why would we not do it with the guys that we know give a crap? Because you're going to have some foundational pieces that know what Cowboy culture was in order for the next round of Oklahoma State to be successful, no matter who the new head coach is. So to me, if you have the LaDainian Fields and the Gunnar Wilsons and the Deshaun Browns and the Noah McKinneys, that clearly this means the world to them, no matter what's happening externally, play those dudes. Because I think that they are the foundational pieces to whatever levels of success that we're going to have next season. Yes, the new staff's going to have to heavy recruit. And we're going to have to, once again, invest heavily into the transfer portal. I think this year proved we have the money to do so. We have the money to get rid of Gundy and to get rid of all these buyouts. And there was an article the other day about, wouldn't it be nice if Oklahoma State spent all this money on higher education or whatever? No. Shut the flip up. Like, what are we talking about? Oklahoma State academically has always been known as somebody who's continuously getting better, and we have more fields. But let's not kid ourselves. There's no university anywhere in the country that thrives off of their chess team or their debate teams. Your football team is the front porch to your university. If your football team's good, then there's more money for everybody, and it means more in enrollment, which means more money for faculty and more money for deans and all of this stuff. So, yeah, could you have taken $15 million that you're going to give Mike Gundy and give it to teachers? Sure. but that's not what helps the university. This AAU accreditation nonsense has nothing to do with realignment, even though the Big Ten likes to pretentiously pretend that it does. It doesn't. It's a fallacy. It's the same thing that Stanford's talking about potentially getting rid of football. Do it and see what happens. Like, you're going to be a feckless entity if that happens. No matter how much we like or dislike it, the higher education goes hand in hand with how successful your athletics programs are. From a financial compensation, if your football team's good and your basketball team's good, your baseball team's good, and you're bringing in lots of money, then you can go hire the best deans, the best teachers in the country, the best professors, or you can pay more to retain them. But this idea that somebody put in an article that Oklahoma State should have given $15 million to teachers, like, yeah, go shush up. That's insanity. What is not insanity is we did get to see some nice plays against Arizona. So offensive MVP. You know what? I think I'm gonna have to go with Logan Ward here. Okay, I'm gonna have to go with the kicking game as our offensive MVP because receivers didn't do much, quarterbacks didn't do much, running backs didn't do much, tight ends didn't get to do much. It was pretty uninspiring. Defensively, thankfully, we got one of those dudes that we've been hooting and hollering about this season, LaDainian Fields, get the pick 6. And yes, I too was celebrating like Oklahoma State just took the flipping lead because it's fun to see the Oklahoma kids that you know do care, that came as like a family package deal. And you've been looking at the cornerback play this season and the defensive back play this season, and we've been wondering, why is this happening? Why is X, Y, or Z playing? So to see somebody like LaDainian Fields finally get out there and prove that they should have been playing all flipping season, it's remarkable to see. I'm so happy that that was able to happen for him. And hopefully this is something that he is able to use as a catapult for the remainder of the season, because I think that LaDainian Fields, Rodney Fields, Deshaun Brown, that crew, that is the loyal and true, I bleed orange, I will run through walls and fist fight you in a phone booth if you say anything bad about Oklahoma State. Those are the types of individuals that we have to have for us to have success moving forward. Special teams MVP, it's got to be Gunnar Wilson, grading out 70.9. Number 2 was Raymond Gay at 70.2, and then Brian McCloy Jr. at 68.4. So the special teams player of the week, Gunnar Wilson, who actually also saved a return, probably for a touchdown. It was like 24-6. If that returner gets outside of Gunnar Wilson, the only person that has a chance is probably the punter. But it was a beautiful tackle. He looked like a big body, 6'3", 230-pound beast, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling his way into a form tackle out of bounds to give Oklahoma State a defensive opportunity. And in all seriousness, why don't we put Gunnar at tight end? Like, he played years of tight end. Matter of fact, linebacker is pretty foreign to Gunnar still to some degree. I mean, he's getting it now. But when he came to Oklahoma State, linebacker was almost a different planet. And he's been able to learn very, very quickly. He's been getting some opportunities recently. Now he's showing up as one of the top dudes, the top dude on the team when it comes to like the PFF style grades for special teams. So maybe it's time for him to spread his wings a little bit more. Because again, we need these foundational building block, Cowboy culture, tried and true. I will fight you in your face for saying anything bad about Oklahoma State dudes. And you can see the ones who care more on the field. Again, are they sometimes as athletically talented as somebody like a Saquon Patterson? Maybe not. Maybe not. But you can see the effort. You can see that it matters. You can see that in Gunnar. You can see it in LaDainian. Armstrong Nodum had a nice day. Sidney Hafili-Kafusi had a pretty nice day. So I'm appreciative that even though the offense was good for Baylor and not so much for this one, and the defense was a little better in this game, but not so much the last one, we haven't merged them together yet. But at least we're playing the dudes that give a crap, and it's very visible on the field that we may be giving up some things athletically, but we're gaining some things internally as a team. And I think that's what we need. Anywho, so we're going to have this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. As always, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast people out there, Do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. Later, taters.